Hello and welcome to the boss fight video for World 2. This has been in the works for a while, and what I'm reviewing is big, it's red, it's quite long, rather heavy, and not at all rude. Galaxy Convoy. So here we are again with a rescue vehicle covered in guns. I'm beginning to suspect that they need to start a help group called Decepticons Anonymous. Come off it. Is this really a fire truck? It's trying. It's doing its hardest to pretend to be a fire truck. Well, I suppose you've got these pseudo-ladder sections up here. And it has got some sort of piston-y details that look like they'd, drop down and hold it in place while it's using these water cannons. They're not even pretending anymore. It is a nice alt mode. It's quite brilliant actually. It's got up front, it has a hint of what was to come in Transformers Animated. Brilliant design cues. Up here, does this look familiar? This mysterious stripe at the back? Nicely done. What more to say? Well, firstly, you've got to suspend your disbelief a little bit, because in here, right in here, it's a little bit borderline. Not quite as bad as RID Prime, I'm going to say. And although I'm complaining about these, not actually being water cannons and quite blatantly being just great big dock-off missile launchers, at least they didn't mould the blue missiles into the shape of water, because that just looks really silly. But not as silly as this. It reminds me of the Micromaster transports, or maybe that rubbish line. Micromasters, Target Masters, Power Masters, Headmasters, Robot Masters, Masters of the Universe, Action Masters. He's like one of those rubbish Action Master accessories. That's what he's like. And I'm having to kind of hide behind him because he's huge. Okay, let's give him his due. If I had this as a kid, this giant flying fire truck with great big weapons, I'd have loved it. As an adult, or at least an alleged adult, it's daft, it's stupid looking, but I have to begrudgingly say this is still awesome, really. I'm actually quite impressed, seriously. This is going to take some manoeuvring, but if you can just see here, on the backs of the wings, they've actually moulded in ailerons. That's brilliant! They actually have made these proper wings, or at least tried to. And I like this. I like the way that this chunky bit here folds back into this socket, like that. So it lines up against the side of what I will call the fuselage. Not bad for a flying truck. Anyway, let's move on to something else, shall we? So once he's shorn of his fire truck trappings, you end up with this alt mode that's very much more like the original Convoy or Prime of the past. It's obviously a truck cab. It has the legs as the back part here, just like he's supposed to, and the front end still looks like a train crossed with a fist. There's just one thing I don't like, which is, from about here, it starts to get a little messy. I mean, it's a nice try with the side windows there. On this side of the line, it's all sort of crisp paint apps and big flat areas and very nice and blocky and solid. And after that line, it starts to break up, it starts to kind of fragment, and you get weird angles. Another thing is the wheels that form the skirt armour. These ones are on hinges, and I don't know if you can see, but it's really thin, and it doesn't quite line up with the other one. He also is a bit of a champion of the visible head, and apart from that, I think I can quite easily live with this. I mean, it's very, very good that they actually gave him rear wheels at all, because one of my problems with one of his predecessors, RID Prime, is that RID Prime, or Fire Convoy, I think, had a big issue with just being that just being the cab. If you took away all the parts formery sections towards the back of his fire truck mode, he was just a cab and couldn't stand on his own. Whereas at least this is a complete figure. He can turn from an alt mode into a bot mode, and this was borne out by the fact that he turned up in Legends class just in this mode. So really, you can justify it, I think. It's by no means perfect, but the fact that they even bothered making this kind of intermediary mode so that he isn't just a lump with some stuff that makes up the rest of his figure, I'm perfectly happy with. Anyway, it's time to get transforming this into something mighty. So this is the somewhat chunky, somewhat stumpy, basic Convoy figure. And another comparison to be made here between Galaxy Force and Animated is that the dropped mouth plate and just his general look reminds me a lot of the Cybertron Mode Prime, the kind of younger, inexperienced Cybertronian leader who's, you know, he's going to be something big in the future, but he hasn't realised his full potential yet. While he's obviously been working out, there's a certain childlike chubbiness to him. You know, he's a bit like those Alsatian puppies who've got the great big paws and the great big ears, but haven't grown into them yet. Truth be told, I don't really like this mode very much. It's not bad per se, but he's got these huge kind of, what would you call those? These big sort of back boot sections. Although I do like the way the wheel ends up in the middle of them. That's kind of neat. And he's got his huge knuckle-dusting boxing gloves on. Maybe it's the face? I'm not sure. But really, it's nothing when you consider the Hulk-like proportions that he's about to obtain. Don't make him angry. You wouldn't like him when he's 20 foot tall and going to kill you. Well, hello there, rubbish base mode. At least they tried to do something with all of this chunk while the rest of the robot's out of the way. And these wingtips now fold out, and the little stabilizer things have an actual use where they sit and they flatten on the ground like so to keep it stable. And it is bedecked with guns, so alright then. Alright then. Only just. This is Galaxy Convoy in his powered up mode, and he's quite frightening because he's trying to poke me in the eye. He's about 50% ratcheting joints, heavy enough to make my arm ache, and we haven't even seen all of it yet. This is just his standard chilling out, having a laugh kind of mode, and then